Oh, my name is Hayo Yanga, More Immigration Solutions. Um, I will be answering some of your questions or your concerns, and I will focus questions on mainly the recurring questions or the common questions most of you have been asking me. Today's question will actually be how can I migrate to Canada? This is just the basic and most common and of question I get all the time. And I've chosen this medium to address all these questions just because it's I'm repeating myself too much, and it seems like I'm answering the same question over and over again, and at least I have something to refer to when I have somebody ask me that same question. So, like I had said earlier, I'll be focusing on the question, how can I migrate to Canada? There are two ways to come to Canada. Is that you're coming to Canada on a permanent basis or you're coming to Canada on a temporary basis. But most people that calls me want to know about how to migrate to Canada on a permanent basis. So that will be what I will be talking about tonight. And just to let everybody know, there's a new system that the Canadian Immigration Board has created to help manage all the application for migrating to Canada, which is called the Express Entry Pool. So to get into the Express Entry Pool, be it you applying under the Federal Skilled Workers Program, be you applying under the Federal Skilled Trade Program, be it the Canadian Experience Class, be it the Provincial Nominee Program, most applicants, if not all, have to go through the Express Entry Pool. So having said that, the Express Entry Pool is a system created to manage all applications for applicants migrating to Canada on a permanent basis. So to get into the Express Entry Pool, applicants have to create Express Entry profile. To create an Express Entry profile, in order to get into the pool, you need to meet certain requirements. So these are the requirements I will try to explain today. So the Express Entry Pool is actually a point system is a point system, and if you're looking at the 100 point grid system, you need minimum of 67. So these are the things you have to bear in mind. You just cannot migrate. There are certain requirements that you need, and there are basic requirements that you need to actually to actually start creating your Express Entry Pool. So I'll quickly run through this requirement to give you guys an idea what you need. So for the I will pick the Federal Skilled Workers Program. That seems the most common one based on experience. So to get into the Express Entry Pool or to start creating your Express Entry profile, so don't get it wrong. To get into the Express Entry Pool, you need to have an Express Entry profile. To create your Express Entry profile, I will focus on the basic requirement that you really need to have. These are not the only requirements, but without this requirement, you cannot even go further. There is no point creating an Express Entry pool. There are certain things that you need to look. The whole process actually focuses on your age, your education, your work experience, your language skills, your adaptability in Canada, and also if you have a job offer or not. Although a job offer is just it's an additional point. It's not a necessity. So that's not a requirement. I'm not going to go in there at all. So I'm focusing mainly on the importance and the requirement to be able to create the Express Entry profile in order to get into the pool. So remember, there's a pool. To get into the pool, you need an Express Entry profile. So to get into the pool, you need a profile. So when you get into the pool, that does not automatically guarantee that you are applying for a permanent residency. Let me put it that way. So once you get into the pool, once you qualify and you meet certain points, there's always a draw. So once the draw has been made, if you do meet the required point, then you will be given an invitation to apply. That's the high TA. So once you get the high TA, that's an invitation to apply. So that means you're required to apply for permanent residency. So everything that you've stated in your profile needs to send with your application to be processed. So that's just the basic summary of the process. But now back to the requirements. So the first requirement for you to actually think or to consider before starting your profile is your work experience. So you need a work experience in a certain field for must be in the same type of job as your primary knock. And I will explain what knock is. That's the NOC. The knock is the National Occupation Classification. So these are the certain job that they have classified to help applicants or prosperous applicants to know where they feed into in terms of job. So it's just like a job classification. So you want to apply for job, so you know where your job classification is and you know what to go. So instead of just going all over the place, so there are different types of job classification, skills type, I'll put it that way. So it's job not skill type. So your not skill type has to either be O, A, or B to get into to start your express entry profile, to be able to get into the pool. So your job knock skill has to be O, A, or B. Job knock skill O is based on, and the knock is actually based on your duties and the kind of work you do. So knock type O is managerial jobs, management jobs. So you have to look at the job description, you have to look at the job title, you have to match it with the same job description and job title in the Canadian government website. If you don't know the website is cic.gc.ca. So actually all the information you need, you will guarantee always find it on that website. So even if you have a consultant and they're telling you something you do not understand, or you have a lawyer that is telling you something and you do not understand, please take your time. Go to the Canadian government website and find out the information yourself. It is just as easy as that. The consultant, you know what the consultant knows. People that usually use consultant, people that do not have time, or people that do not have the resources, or do not have the ability to go find out this information themselves. So this is information you can get on your own. And the second job skill type is job skill A, and these are professional jobs like the doctors, architect, the dentists, and so on. And the last skill type is the knock skill type B. And the knock skill type B had the technical jobs, and these are jobs that usually require you to hold a college diploma. For example, a chef, a plumber, electricians, and so on and so forth. So that's the first major thing you really need to know about. You really need to find out the kind of knock you have. That will be your primary knock when applying into the pool, when creating your profile before getting into the pool. Then the second requirement I'll be working to that is required is your work experience hours. You need minimum hours of 1,560 hours. And when I mean hours, I mean paid hours. So you can't tell me you had an internship done and you're not being paid for it. It's not considered as experience. So you can actually put that in your profile. It has to be paid. And remember, you are going to prove all those things. So don't just write it down and say, oh, okay, this is going to get done. It has to be official. I tell people, don't lie. I have a lot of people that have lied in the profile, and when they invited to apply, they can provide the information requested for. So don't lie. And the third requirement is the language test. And I'm going to elaborate a little bit on this language test. Unfortunately, if you're migrating to Canada on a permanent basis and you're going through the express entry pool, you cannot avoid the language test. Unfortunately, I have this seems to be my number one. This seems to be everybody's number one question. Is there a way I can migrate to Canada permanently without having to write the test? No, absolutely no. You can come in as a student, which is not permanent, is on a temporary basis. Then yes, some schools do not require you to write the English language test. Some school will select your country to write the English test. So it depends. It depends on your country. It depends on your school you're applying into. It depends on variety of things as well. But unfortunately, if you're migrating to Canada, you are required to write the language skill test. And it's not only for your it's not only for Canadian benefit, it's also for your benefit. You don't expect a doctor coming into Canada and cannot communicate with a patient. So when there is no communication, nothing can be done. So that's why the language test is really required. The minimum benchmark required for the language test skill is 7. But I will tell people, if you can get beyond 7, it's better. And everything still depends on the points you have. Sometimes you might need more points, and the more scores you have, the better for you, because the more score you have, you get more points on that. So work on that, and that's going to help you. And the last requirement I'll be talking about today, which is not the last requirement for the process, this is just the last requirement that I choose to discuss. And as I said earlier on, is the basic requirement to be able to start an Express Entry profile to get into the Express Entry pool, which will be the fund needed to migrate. Unfortunately, you cannot migrate to Canada without having money in your account. It is not your consultant's money. It is not your lawyer's money. It is not the Canadian government money. It is your money. The money is yours. It stays in your account. Nobody's going to take it away from you. You're just going to need to show it to Canada that it is your money. And remember, the money has to be in your account for a minimum of 6 months. If for some reason you can't get that amount in your money, or the period of the money in your account is less than 6 months, then you can it has to be a gift deed. So that's another topic we're going to discuss another time. It has to be a gift deed, or there's some other things you have to be able to prove that the money came in but it's still yours. We will discuss that later on when we talk about each requirement in details. But for now, each money required is based on the number of people or applicants on an application. So for example, if you're only applying for yourself, just one person, the minimum requirement is 12,300. If it's 2 people, let's say it's just you and your spouse, you need 15,312. If it's 3, maybe you, your spouse, and a child, you need 18,825. If it is 4, you need 22,856, and so on and so forth. So the amount is based on the amount of people on the application. So that will be helpful today. Sorry I took so much of your time. This is the first video. Like I said earlier on, send me an email if you need me to answer any question. If there's anything you don't understand on this video, please send me an email. I will try and address it first before going into the next topic in the next video. My email address is info@moiimmigrationsolutions.com. You can always give us a call as well, 780-669-1598, and that's 780-669-1598. It's a landline, so no text message will come in. That's no WhatsApp messages. My email address, info @moiimmigrationsolutions.com. That's moiimmigrationsolutions.com. I apologize, it's really long. And I hope I'm able to answer the question of how you can migrate to Canada. I hope you understand what this Express Entry pool is about. I hope you do know that you have to create a profile to get into the Express Entry pool. I hope you understand that once you get into the pool, does not automatically says you have applied for permanent residency. There's still another step. You have to be invited to apply. I hope I'm able to explain some other things to you that you do understand. Remember, if you don't understand anything, try and send me an email. I'll try and get back to you as soon as I can. I promise to do my best. It's not guaranteed. I'm working on time that will be convenient for everybody, so we can have a live video. I have people all over, so I'm still trying to work on the central time that's convenient for me and it's convenient for everybody. Have a wonderful week, and we will see you next week, Wednesday.